Okay, Benjamin, you reported this on Twitter. Dalton Risner left the game against the Patriots with a shoulder injury. We'll probably have more updates later on throughout the course of the week, but as you understand it, he is highly doubtful for the game against the Chiefs.
Yeah, Broncos source tells me that he is unlikely for that. Barring some radical change, he is unlikely for that game. Probably going to be Schlottmann filling in for him. They want to get some additional medical testing done to see the extent and the severity of the injury. And I don't want to comment on the specifics yet until that test is done, but I will say it is highly unlikely at this point that Dalton Risner plays against the Chiefs.
Well, and they protected Patrick Morris on the practice squad, so it also kind of tips a little bit that they might need a little extra interior offensive line help. You also said that Tani Moody will not be in play necessarily, but I'd like to have a conversation eventually about Tani Moody being the interior swing guy, because the dude played well in training camp. It is training camp, but it's a good defensive front that he was playing against and practicing against. I think the guy could be an absolute beast in this league. And again, one of those guys that's had injuries. He hadn't had injuries. He would certainly be in play for maybe at least a swing job early on and eventually a starting job. The Broncos don't need a starter right now. Between Graham Glasgow and Dalton Risner, they're in good shape. But Tani Moody is that kind of talent. Is there a possibility in a couple of weeks, no offense to Schlottmann or Morris, that maybe Tani Moody would get a shot if, say, Risner was out for a little long?
If Schlottmann bombs, then maybe. But outside of that, no.
But if Schlottmann is playing,
if Schlottmann is playing competently, he's going to be the guy. He's also the backup center if something happens there. If Cush were to go down and Schlottmann had to kick over to center, then you might see it. But I would suggest at this point they view Moody as a ball of clay, work in progress. He's excellent going downhill in the run game. He is a liability in pass protection, and placing two rookies next to each other in Cushenberry and Tani Moody, who are both a little suspect in pass pro, is probably not the direction you want to go with your twice injured quarterback you're trying to get a read on.
But looks like Lloyd Cushenberry is improving.
He's improving week to week, but I'm still saying he has ways to go in his pass protection. He does. Lloyd Cushenberry has a ways to go. I'm sorry. That's accurate.
It's honest. I'm with it. I'm just saying that.
But he's gotten better each week. I'm not trying to say he's not terrible. You know, I mean, like, he's not the Garrett Bowles of 3 years ago as a center. You know, I mean, it's not. You know, you can improve in this league. If anyone is an example of that, it's Garrett Bowles.
Well, I mean, but remember how many conversations we were having about Connor McGovern and the snaps and all the problems with that. I mean, right now what you're worried about.
McGovern was a better center at this point than Lloyd Cushenberry is. Lloyd, I think, has a higher ceiling. It's going to take him a little time to get there with the pass pro stuff. It just is. So that said, I don't think you want a situation where you're putting Tani Moody and Lloyd Cushenberry next to each other this season. I just don't think you want to do it. Two rookies like that, that's just tough. You don't want to do that. The interior line, that's giving up the A-gap to on a quarterback that has been injured twice, and you really got to figure out if he's the guy and what the plan is going forward.
Okay, so how big a hit is this if Risner can't go against the Chiefs?
We talk about energy guys all the time, right? And Drew's an energy guy. Phil Lindsay's an energy guy. Dalton Risner on the offensive line is the energy guy. He is. He's also a leader on that line. He keeps those guys in line, and it's interesting because he's a second-year guy, and you've got a guy like DeMar Dotson who's been around forever, Glasgow, who's on a second contract, and Garrett Bowles, who's been around longer than he has. But honestly, Risner's the guy on that offensive line. And so, you are going to lose something there. You're going to lose a fiery, guy who demands excellence every play. That's not to say that Schlottmann isn't that guy, but we know who Risner is, and it means more to him. And I think, honestly, this game ahead would mean more to Risner. Played at Kansas State, Colorado kid who played at K-State, and I think that game would mean a little something extra for him. And based on the way he talked about playing the Chiefs when we talked to him in the preseason, seemed like a guy who had this game circled. So this might be a win-one for the Gipper kind of moment. Seeing him on the sideline, unable to go, this might be you want him up there firing the offensive lineup, but you're going to miss him out there on the field.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. And I don't know, Austin Schlottmann doesn't quite bring the athleticism and the talent that you get with Risner. And one of the things that we probably don't give enough love to is when Risner is in the running game, when he's pulling, he is one of the best guards in the league.
And they love to do that.
Yeah.
They love to do that. So that's going to be interesting to see, how they replace that, what they do to counteract that. They've taken some significant steps backwards in terms of athleticism on the line with DeMar Dotson and Austin Schlottman in there.
Do you think that this is going to impact Garrett Bowles and the streak of really good performances we've been seeing from him?
Some. I mean, it'll affect him a little bit. You know, Garrett's a get in his homeostasis kind of guy. I think it could affect that some. You certainly saw that the protection was different.
Yes.
You noticed it in that game. So, you know, I think that I don't want to say that it's something of worry, but, you know, keep in mind that the person they're going to be going up against out of that gap is Chris Jones.
And I was just thinking that.
So, you know, that's something to just kind of keep your eye on, something to remember.
Okay. Well, hopefully that for Dalton Risner, he's not going to be out too long, but this is obviously something that it's amazing of the strengths of the offensive line that we've been talking about. A lot of it kind of was pinned on Risner. Amazingly enough, we've been talking about the positive play of Garrett Bowles. Well, the guy right next to him is in part of that. Lloyd Cushenberry improving. And part of that is because Dalton Risner is next to him. And it just seems like once he went out, they got by against the Patriots. But the challenge of, in this case, the Chiefs and, you know, eventually the Chargers, because the Chargers are getting a little healthier back there. They're going to get Melvin Ingram back, and so they're going to start being able to bring some pressure as well. So it's one of those, I wondered how long this was actually going to be, especially on the heels of your report that it was highly doubtful that he'd be available.
Yeah, so we'll see. If there's something that changes, I'll let you know. They're getting a second opinion. They were getting a second opinion today. We'll see how this thing shakes out.